created a convention that we felt like was truly built from the ground up to be very inclusive of everyone, like make everyone feel like they really belong in the world of fandom, because they do. Everybody deserves a seat at the table and deserves to feel comfortable and safe attending events, and not to be shut out of like networking opportunities and fun stuff to do. So that was the original impetus, and it's been so much fun that we keep doing it, just because it's the number of awesome people that we've met along the way, and just how much everyone, including us, looks forward to that weekend in October every year. It's not that big a stretch to say that sometimes people do go and then come out a little bit changed on the other side of it, at least in terms of their new friends and their new thoughts on things, and like rejuvenated inspiration.
I think the conversations is what Jesse means. When you come out of it and you've had all of these amazing conversations that you don't necessarily get to have in everyday life, people who are smart and funny and usually quite goofy, and it's becoming a family.
One of the cool things about the new space is it affords us opportunity to learn and grow. And tonight, we have two great teachers. First, last year guest of honor Milton J. Davis, who is an author, publisher. I had the wrong intro. It's Monday. Sorry, everybody. Welcome to Spotlight on the Multiverse. I don't have them, Milton J. Davis and Kyoko M, with me. I actually have SM Hillman and Rob Grimoire joining me tonight. So I apologize for that. I loaded the wrong intro. That is my fault. That's what happens when you do like 40 of these intros at once in these shows, and that's what happens. So everybody can look forward to Monday, though. See, now you got a little preview of Monday. But anyway, welcome to Spotlight on the Multiverse. And I am your host, Joe Compton. And I have the awesome SM Hillman with me. Mr. Hillman, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, I'm a speculative fiction writer. I say by day, but by all the time. And I'm also a game designer and a big gamer. And so I came to Multiverse as the play track director. So play is a little bit different than specifically gaming, although it encompasses all of it now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I'm sure we'll get into that in a minute.
Yes, so. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so to kind of give an idea of your thoughts on the new space and how you're going to utilize it. How I took a tour, and there was a lot of great things talked about, especially with the gaming aspect of things, where the gaming room itself was going to be bigger. There was going to be, we're going to have some box arcade games and things of that nature. So kind of go through what you've been planning and what you're looking at as far as the new space encompasses.
So to specifically start with the gaming aspect, I think the wider open space is going to provide a psychological welcoming aspect to allow people to be like, oh, it's not, they'll look in and it's like, oh, it won't be so crowded or jammed in. And this is just part of how the space works. But, gaming has been in a couple of different spots in the old venue. And I don't think any of them were perfect for gaming. And that's that's no shade on anybody. It's just the way it worked. And I think this is a much more traditional and even more open gaming space. And I think that will work wonders for bringing people in and letting them, when your choice is to go to maybe go to a panel you're not really that interested in, or maybe go to your room, you're not sure what to do, come down to the gaming hall and you'll find a game for you to play.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of different games. It's not just like role-playing games. We're not just talking about D&D campaigns. I know there's Uno there. There's a lot of card games. There's a lot of cool things. And I know that you also they were running Mario Kart racing last year and the year before that. And like I said, they're going to have big box arcade games. At least that's the plan. So you'll be able to play those when you're walking through the hallway at times and do that. The one thing about last year that I think was different than the year before, which I was really happy to see, was that it seemed like the room was set up very nicely last year, and I really felt like it was a lot more accessible, a lot more open, and also I felt like that people were finding the room for the certain aspects of certain things, and that was really, that was something that I felt like the first time I had visited the gaming room, it wasn't as convenient or as well known.
Right. And because we were at different levels in most of the programming and things like that,
Yeah.
which I think is good, right? I think that was good because the psychological distance between programming and the gaming where you're really trying to come to relax. But also, so in two ways. So yes, where the main gaming hall was, I agree with that. But also with the space we had last year, because the venue had done some building and redesigning of that space. But it actually, I think, worked out really well for my main focus, which is the play track.
Yeah.
For having panels and things like that. So that worked out well. And I think that this new venue will even be more, we'll do more for both of those.
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about it. So let's talk a little bit about the play track itself and some ideas about it. You're bringing back a couple staples that everybody will be familiar with, and the RPG Game Design Jam and the Tingleverse is going to be played again this year. Talk a little bit about those, because those are two of the more well-attended panels that you have every year. Right.
So since the beginning, we try to be an indie game design space. It's a little bit, there's a community in Atlanta where there's a small community. So trying to draw people from that community into the space has been the goal. And gradually we're doing that on both the guest side and on the membership side. So the couple of the things, the RPG Design Jam really kind of came out of just an idea from jams in general. And it's like, well, we can design an RPG in an hour. And the beautiful thing was that we have some great guests and some great people who participate where I can be hands off, because I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be designing Sean's RPG every year. But so the game that they came up with last year was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we've played that on Hit the Dice this year, this season. And so this new year, I'm really looking forward to it. Not only setting up sessions to play last year's game, but what are they going to come up this year, right? And I think that it will really, whatever it is, will really capture the spirit of Multiverse. I feel like last year's game did too. Then of course, we've had 2 years of Chuck Tingle at the RPG.
Does that come with a free tetanus shot?
It does come with a free tetanus shot. You get right before the game starts, I promise. And last 2 years have taught us a lot. They've been fun, but and let me just go tangenting here a little bit. Actual play and play, one is designed mostly to entertain, and the other is designed to get play. And I could go on about that for hours and hours and hours. But so I do the best to have that liminal space between where we're entertaining people, which is what we want to do, right? But also we want to play to happen, right? We want people to see authentic play happen as well. And I think that has happened, and we're working this year behind the scenes to make sure that things are much more streamlined for the players, and it's much more tactile for the audience as well. And hopefully people who watch it afterwards will enjoy the experience as well. Hopefully Dr. Tingle will watch it as well. So.
The cool thing about that aspect, right, is for Tingle, for the Tingleverse, for people who aren't familiar with it, it's very tongue in cheek. There's a lot of crassness, but there's also a lot of sarcasm, and but it's meant to still be played as an RPG in the standard traditional format that RPGs and tabletops are played at. So but it lends itself to chaos and shenanigans. It's just based on what it is, right? So
yes, absolutely.
So that helps bridge that gap a little bit more, I would assume.
Yeah, and it's I feel like it's a solid part of sort of the nightlife of Multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
We are very much a family friendly, and that's growing.
Yeah.
But there's also the okay, we want to let our hair down. We want to let our hair down a little bit after 8:30 at night, and I feel like Chuck Tingle RPG does that in a way that's still kind of accessible to teens and things like that. I mean, we don't go too off the board. We cross a few boundaries, but not too many.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that this year is going to be even better.
That's funny because last year, I believe, there was a lady who brought in 2 of her younger kids to start the thing, and they kind of, as soon as the thing got started, they kind of realized, maybe this isn't the right place for that.
No, right? Yeah, it's not crass in the way you might conceive of.
It's not offensive. It's not, and it's not overtly like, it's not rated R overtly, right? It's like one of those that would be like you could kind of go PG-13 a little bit more than rated R on a lot of what that offers. I mean, you're fighting a big piles of mashed potatoes, basically, right? So
although this year things are getting more serious. It's the man from Idaho. So
now the cool thing would be because most of the panelists dress up for the opportunity to be on this panel.
Yes.
So if you have a onesie with furry onesie or something like that showing up in the audience in that, that would be then we know that the Tinkleverse RPG game has made it, right? So
yeah, as someone who's not that the Rocky Horror Picture Show isn't great. I'm just not ever been a big fan of it, but I feel like that if we could get that vibe going with Chuck Tingle, that might be a perennial winner, right? So.
Yeah, sentient mashed potatoes are very Chuck Tingle.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And they're smooth and buttery when you penetrate them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to also with the RPG Jam. This is something that we've talked about in previous episodes of the show, actually, even early on this year, and that is what we're seeing is little things from Multiverse being sprinkled about in other places, and this is a prime example of that. As at this year at Jordan Con, there was a design RPG. They called it "Build Your Own RPG," but it was the same concept with, in fact, the exact same panelists that were on the ones in Multiverse as well, which just worked out. But that's just coincidence in a lot of ways. But it is. But Ryan was in the audience for the Multiverse one, and he is the track director at Jordan Con for the gaming track. So it made sense that he would bring that in because he had a lot of fun in that game. Because I was sitting right next to him. So
yeah, the 2 conventions can be kind of incestuous in that regard. So I mean, Chuck Tingle would approve. So
yeah, but I think that's really great though that cons and it's not stealing but it just feels like there's that Multiverse is doing something right in that respect, right?
Yep.
So I think that's kind of an interesting aspect of what I've been noticing, and if I notice it, I'm sure everybody who's involved with Multiverse notices it as well. But
yeah, we are doing something right for sure, and now it's bleeding over into and specifically to that convention, which was already a good convention.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, beyond those two aspects of the gaming track and the playroom and everything like that, what else can we look forward to? Do you have something you would love to share with us? Kind of roll up your sleeve a little bit and give a little preview of some things that maybe you're trying out this year, or something that
Sure can.
people might be interested in.
I think so. We can do that. So, a couple things. I'm not a big cozy anything. I don't read cozy mysteries. I watch Murder, She Wrote, so I guess I do. We want to talk about cozy games this year.
Nice.
As well as game tie-in fiction. So, long time ago, younger Sean was a fan of like a lot of D&D novels and especially battle. I read a lot of BattleTech novels. For those who don't know, BattleTech was a miniature war game that started in the 80s, I believe, and still has a great deal of tie-in fiction that continues with it. So we want to talk about that for sure. That demographic that's reading. We want to tie it in. Read. You like this game? Read the books. I mean, Warhammer, which I'll get to in a second, has a huge, they call it the Black Library, and that's many millions of books. I don't know. It's a lot. We'll talk about Baldur's Gate. We have a lot of.
Can't kind of escape that one. That's the big one, right?
But we don't want to, right? As someone who played the original Gold Box games for Forgotten Realms, which part of the evolutionary tree of Baldur's Gate 3, we definitely want to give voice to that. That's fantastic, and we want to give voice to people who are fans of that. Mm-hmm. Plus, we have a number of people who study video games in Multiverse and who are, I feel like, again, we're tapping into some fantastic resources we already have on staff, who will be able to speak to that, plus our guests as well.
You tend to always have some kind of educational business aspect to it as well. Is that going to continue with this year for your programming?
Yeah. So I think that there is some. Let's see.
I know because I hosted a panel at the
right. We're actually going to lean into some more social stuff this year. Cool. In our very first Multiverse, and I'm very proud of this, we had a really kick-ass Kickstarter panel where people talked about that, and that's probably up for evolution or back in the rotation for next year. Okay. But this year, so we'll kind of focusing heavy on design and out with the old, in with the new. So we have, for instance, I call it out to pasture, the classic board games that should be retired. As a fan of some real classic board games, I realize that trying to pitch them to people, diplomacy is not I don't think diplomacy should be retired, but as an example, diplomacy is not a starter board game. It's like, hey, let's sit down and lose our friendships in the next 2 or 3 hours. Is it really good? And I think it's worth the conversation worth having.
Yeah, I mean, board games like Life need to be definitely retired.
Retired or at least revisited in such a way that is more realistic, right? I mean, you can have a daddy and a daddy, or a mommy and a mommy. If you want, but let's. I don't know if Life has gone through any kind of evolutionary changes, but I think that's probably time.
I think so. Yeah,
do that.
Yeah. That's one. That one, when you said that, that's the one that popped into my head because it's so
right.
Like, it's reverse osmosis at this point.
Right, and it's very traditional. So media tie-ins, we had, like I said, the gaming tie-in fiction, but also we're going to talk about gaming movies
nice.
that not just simply Uwe Ball's Resident Evil stuff. No, he's not Resident Evil. He's Blood Rain. But yeah, not just the D&D movie, but a whole ton of game fiction that when I sat down to do this, I talked to someone who's an expert, and she has a PhD in film stuff, and she's like, "Oh, this and this and this." I'm like, "Oh, wow, you're so much smarter at me than this." So that's going to be fantastic. And so something I hope is interesting to people, right? We talk about indie games and indie things, and forget, if we talk about Games Workshop, we think, oh gosh, right, there are billions of dollars and many figurines and a whole entire hobbies. But they started as a shop in England, right? They were an indie at one point, even though they are not now. So we're actually going to have a retrospective where we look at Games Workshop and where they came from. And hopefully that'll be inspirational for folks who are doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. That's awesome. Anything about one-pagers or anything like that? Because those are really raging right now.
Yep. We're going to have one-page RPGs. And if Bob's watching or watching later, Bob, you're going to be on that panel.
Yeah. You just sign up for it, Bob. You'll be there. So that's awesome. I don't want to use up this entire time talking about the entire program at the Play Track, because you just released a new book last year, and you're out there putting yourself out there a lot more, and of course you host shows for me at Go Indie Now, and so talk a little bit about where you're at in your evolution, and tell everybody a little bit about Language of Skeptics first and foremost, because
we'll do. As a lot of writers, I have a lot of projects on the burner, various burners. My writing kitchen is huge; it has many stoves. Last year, and actually we're coming up on the first anniversary for Language of Skeptics in about 7 days. So last year I took a collection of rejected stories that have been rejected multiple times, with the exception of one, and put them together in a collection called The Language of Skeptics. I can say happily that not being the greatest salesman in the world, in person, and this is important, I think, for authors to remember, in person, the title, The Language of Skeptics, is dynamite, right? In person, it may not be as, you might look at it online and be like, I don't know, but in person, that it was very much a case where people were like, oh yeah, that's interesting to me. But it's a collection of shorts across the speculative range. There's no really any heavy fantasy in it. It's much more, there's some urban fantasy, there's some horror, there's some science fiction horror, which is kind of where I'm at. I think as a writer, it's weird to say that, the psychological aspects of both. I'm very proud of The Language of Skeptics. It's for a first time self-published author. I'm very happy with the reception it's gotten as well. In addition to everything else, this very soon, probably June or July, bring out my next collection of short stories.
Nice.
So it's referred to as Wicked Boys, which is kind of calling back to some of my original marketing for myself. And that'll be 3 larger. So Language Skeptics has 6 stories. This will have 3, but they're longer shorts. So novelettes, I think they'll call them. So you're still getting plenty bang for your buck. And these are much exclusively I call them sword and sorcery, but most people don't even know that term these days. So fantasy, as far as that goes.
Nice. The one thing that really impressed me about The Language of Skeptics is that I heard you in it right away. You're very good at being your own voice, and you found it pretty fast. And that's kind of an interesting thing for authors. It takes a long time sometimes, And so did you feel like that was why you kind of wanted to release it, because you were feeling like this was a comfortable space for me to be in? I feel like I have a voice.
Yes. Now, I've been writing since I was 10, which was a long time ago. So that voice did develop over the years, the decades, and the millennia of writing. But yeah, no, that's a great point. Those stories, I could hear, like you said, I could hear myself, right? They definitely were stories that spoke to me as a writer. And so, yes, they were the right collection of stories at the right time.
Nice. Awesome. And you've got other things going on. I mean, Zero Means Your Dead is alive and kicking, and we're doing stuff there, and talking about RPG and indie gaming and all the fun stuff there. I mean, are you pretty encouraged by where we are at in terms of the indie gaming space, or do you feel like we're just touching the surface? Do you feel like the boom is not there yet? Where are you feeling like we're at in terms of indie gaming right now?
So I feel like indie games are alive, but they're very all over the place. There are indie designers who are heavily influenced by 5e. Judy Black, who's been on Zero Means You're Dead, does a lot of D&D, design stuff.
Yeah.
But Judy's still an indie designer, right? It doesn't matter that she's doing it for a well-developed game. But we also have Bob Magoo, who is writing a lot of one sheet and one page RPGs, which will be coming up soon on Hit the Dice. And so I think that it is alive and well, but I feel like there are corporate aspects to indie gaming, and it sounds weird, corporate aspects to indie gaming that don't always serve the large community the best. And maybe that's because by their nature. So in a lot of ways, and I love the big colorful books too, right? I'm a Free League fan, and all their games are beautiful. But RPGs, like comics, in my opinion, are best when they're person on the street. You can imagine yourself on the street writing, and they're like, "Hey, what you doing?" It's like, "I just designed a D6 guy RPG. Hey, you want a copy of it?" Kind of thing, right? That street level underground art, right? That's where that's the heart of it. That's the heart of it.
It needs a little punk rock, is what it needs, right?
It really does need a little punk rock.
Yep. That's kind of where it's at. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's because the people designing at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just asserting here, but the people that are designing at this point are the ones that grew up on D&D and grew up on the big box games, so that's their grandiose idea of putting something like that out there, because that's what they know, right? They don't know the one page, the scrappy, here's a lot of invention and a lot of imagination you need, which I'm not saying you don't need that for big boxes, but the flashy stuff you're talking about with the big colorful books and all those things, I think in a lot of ways we do the same thing in publishing, that in that respect is that we want to make it look as professional as possible, so we only know that to be one way in a lot of respects, right? Yes. So I mean, you take a game like Borg, for example. That is an indie game. It's an indie design, but it is like vastly its own entity, and they've done a lot of but in the same sense, it has the indie sense where you can take it and utilize it any way you want, and copy it and develop your own game from it and everything like that. But they do have this kind of nice design to it, as the original game. Right.
And I mean, just to speak on much like Warhammer and Games Workshop, the original TSR, with all its very, very much Game of Thrones kind of conflicts in the background, was this small, on the margins entity that was designed and then marketed, and it just blew people away, right?
Yeah.
It just blew people away. And I feel like maybe that's all. We always feel like there's a certain purity when you're designing it in your basement or at your computer or your kitchen table, in my case, that has a charm all its own.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with being grandiose and designing something spectacular. It's just that there's also nothing wrong with, handing somebody a piece of paper that looks like you just wrote it on a notebook pad, right? And here you go, let's play a game. And here's 2 dice and here's a deck of cards, a normal deck of cards. Let's play a game, right?
Yes, it is that simple. It absolutely is.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me and talking a little bit about the play track. I really appreciate it. It was super nice to have you here. As always, I'm just so grateful to you and everything you do. And this has been a really wonderful conversation, Sean. Thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can get your wonderful book and they can get information about the next book as well.
Yes. You can go to thewickedboys.com. That's my website. It's got links to my most of my social media. Also, it has a link to Language of Skeptics. I also talk about my convention adventures there, where I do a lot of convention volunteering. Of course, being Multiverse Con being one of those conventions that I work in.
Yeah, nice.
And you can also find me here on the Go Indie Now Network.
Sunday, in fact, everybody.
In fact, I'll be hosting This Week in Indies, which I love because growing up, I was a This Week in Baseball guy. Every week I would listen to that. And I was like, oh, man, that's cool. So for me, that's kind of the vibe I get in my head. Yes, Sean gets around. That's true. That is very true. And of course, we're going to have another Zero Means You're Dead very soon, and we're going to have another Hit the Dice very soon. So
yeah, we're going to play Salem Witch Trials here pretty soon.
We are
with Bob Magoo's new game. So, all right, everybody. Well, I promise you, I have the right ad up. It's not the wrong. I had the wrong intro, but the right ad, and it's a really good one for all of you writers out there. Because one of the Multiverse sponsors has some really great opportunities for you. And then we'll be right back after that with Rob, everybody. So here you go, and we'll be right back. Are you looking for inspiration to grab a hold, to jump on an opportunity, or maybe bite down on a few thousand words and feel your way around a submission? Ink Posting just might have what you're looking for if you're looking to be a little impulsive with your writing. Yes, their next anthology, Open Call, is Impulse, an explicit romance anthology. They're searching for spicy romance. This will be a diverse and inclusive anthology with high heat levels accepted throughout. There'll be no restrictions on gender or sexuality, and you can feel free to get warm in a snowed-in lodge in Colorado. Let your shifters and cryptics frolic. Break out that Victorian lace. Or set your story in deep space with alien first contact. The submission price is free, and you can submit up until May 31st, although the deadline might be extended. There are no AI allowed, and one per author story, with no reprints or simultaneous submissions. The word count can be between 2,000 and 8,000 words. But please go to the submission page and read the rules carefully before submitting. But wait, there's more opportunities. Yay All Queer is an LGBTQ plus anthology from Inked Publishing that has opened its submission period right now and will be open till July 31st. They're searching for LGBTQ plus characters who have a central position within the story. It'll be a diverse and inclusive anthology. Once again, there will be no restrictions on gender or sexuality, and feel free to create an engaging story with your favorite genre or setting. It can be mystery, romance, fantasy, or sci-fi. They're all welcome if the stories and characters grab the reader's interest. Once again, there is no cost to submit, but there will be no AI and one per author allowance with no reprints or simultaneous submissions. The word count here is 2,000 to 6,000 words. And once again, we urge you to please, once you go to the submission page, read the rules and restrictions. But those are opportunities from the Multiverse sponsor, Inked Publishing, that you can take advantage of right now if you've got a story that you need to tell. And we've got a story to tell because we got Rob here, everybody. Rob's here. Woo! My friend, so nice to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well. How about yourself? Are you doing good?
I'm good. I've been busy, but I'm good.
And Multiverse is around the corner where you're just going to be even more busy.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be very, very, very busy.
Everybody's saying hello. Woo, Rob. Woo, Rob. Hi, Rob. Now the real talent people are here. Nifty.
No. One of the real talents just left. John is a cornucopia of knowledge and a very talented writer.
As you are, my friend. We'll get to that in a moment. I am. So, how excited are you for the new space and what that represents for you? What do you feel like is good about what we're about to experience here in October?
So there's many things about the new space. I got a chance to walk it the last year, and it was quite incredible. It was like driving into a scenic spot where all the leaves were falling just perfectly, and we get in.
I was joking when Vanessa took me there that I felt like it was in a Sopranos episode where I was about to get whacked.
Right. I was pulling up. I'm just like, I was there with a buddy of mine named Liam, who everyone here knows, and it was quite breathtaking. The space was gorgeous, and one of the cool things is that the staff were really kind of enthusiastic about having us. That to always already just kind of kick off a relationship with staff like that, and with the hotel like that, and everything about it. I think it's just kind of perfect. I think it's everything from the beginning of Multiverse to now has been leading up to this particular spot. And I hope it all works out because, right, Vanessa, it's gorgeous. I got to see it with Vanessa as well too. It was beautiful. It's spacious. It's well lit. I cannot wait to start it, and it's really like come to a head. I'm really excited about it. I really am.
As a gentleman that gets around, because you are basically the face of Multiverse for that weekend. You're the guy that everybody comes to hang out with, to talk to, and you're really the guy that really makes just the sunshine come up every day there. Talk a little bit about the opportunity to roam around a little bit. Are you excited to kind of just be a little bit freer this year because you're going to be, or are you going, oh shit, maybe I need to get a little bit more in shape before I take this long ass walk down this long ass hallway? Because that's what I'm thinking right now. Right. I'm out there working out right now, going, holy crap, I need to get in shape for this.
Right. So my rusty trusty knee brace comes with me wherever I go, and I just recently was my first time being a guest was at Jordan Con this year at a con in a capacity as an author, and I learned a hard lesson there too. Is that I got to bring that knee brace with me, but this having a little bit more freedom in terms of like being able to roam around. I like that everything is kind of on the same level, and so that makes it a lot easier. I think loading is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But this year I will be attending Multiverse not as just chair second, but also as a guest. So there's a lot more I'm going to have to do in terms of like trying to kind of put out fires at the same time, but not really, because I know everybody got they got my back. I know Jesse and Ellie got my back, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And I think that the way the place is laid out is going to make it easier for a lot of us to kind of just take a big, deep breath and enjoy ourselves. Yeah. Even everyone who's volunteering, everyone who's working, which by the way, volunteers, I love you all. You kick butt at every con you go to. And I hope you come to Multiverse and kick more butt there too. And we're going to have a blast.
For people who don't know, Multiverse pretty much would not exist without Rob. Rob was not only the inspiration that Jesse has talked about before with this, but you helped him kind of get this going and push. You know, you were behind the scenes making things happen here. So talk a little bit about your relationship with Multiverse and how you've seen it grown and what the evolution for you in this space.
So once upon a time, a good friend of mine from the same town I live in called me and was like, "Hey, I went to a con in Texas, and you know what? I think I can do a little bit better than that." And we got to talking several nights about trying to how to try to build this whole thing up from where it is. And it's kind of interesting because Jesse, Allie, and I are all from like the same area in South Georgia. And Jesse and Allie put in a lot of footwork, a lot of groundwork, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time into actually making it happen up there in Atlanta. And I'm still here in South Georgia. So, being able to have conversations with both of them and getting everything, on track was cool. But in terms of like inspiration, I think Multiverse was inevitable. And I think that Jesse was inevitable, and I think that Allie was inevitable, and then everyone who was involved with Multiverse, it was going to happen. It's kind of magical how it all happened, though. That's the kind of magical thing, and how the evolution of it has went. We survived 2020. We survived the pandemic, and we did a great job doing it. And I got to see one of the craziest games involving potatoes ever in my life, which I will never forget. You know who you are.
He's out there winking right now.
Oh yeah, all the winks. Yeah. But no, seeing it grow from where it was to where it is now is actually quite incredible. Especially it shows what people can do when they take their hearts out and put it on the table and say, "This is what we're going to do. We're not going to compromise for anything. We're not going to slow down. And if there's a problem, we're going to pick it up by its collar and kick it the heck out." It's just what it is. It's just what we are. It's what I love about the convention. Everyone is there, everyone's having fun, and everyone is safe, and I hope they feel safe that way. And if you don't, and you see this giant guy that looks like this, you talk to him, because we'll get it taken care of. We will get it taken care of immediately. We will get it taken care of.
And he's very easy to talk to, everybody. He is very easy to talk to.
Yes, I just look like a bear who crossed paths with an MMA fighter. I just look like that.
Who played metal music at one point in his life.
Yes, I still play metal music in my head walking down the street. I can guarantee there's albums up there, I promise.
I also I love that, the inevitability of it. But I also think, having been a part of it for the last couple of years now, the inevitability of its growth had to come as well. And this is the next natural evolution of that. When you look at how it's growing and where it's going, is there a little intrepidation? Is there a little bit of hesitation, or because it is such a great family, it's such a beautiful knit closeness that has been created with this, or are you excited to kind of let more people into the family and bring it even bigger and bolder?
Honestly, both, and you have to have a balance with both, because while I want to bring everyone in and have them all have a good time, and this is not a place to gatekeep, and this is not a place to have any of that kind of ideologies, you still have to be careful about what you're doing and who you're bringing in, and you still have to be cautious about that, because while we do have this family and while we do want this family to grow, we still have to protect this family.
Yeah,
this is something that we still have to make sure that everybody's okay. And honestly, a stranger could come in from anywhere and say, I'm going to cause these kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not a stranger.
Yeah.
And so you have to be flexible and you can't compromise on your foundations. Both. But there has to be that balance, right? You have to be careful. You have to be careful about what's going on. That's just being vigilant about what's happening.
So you did quite a few panels at Jordan Con, and I agree with Paige. You were the star of Jordan Con for me as well. Are you looking forward to engaging in that aspect of multiverse a little bit more this year for yourself?
I am interested to see what happens.
Okay.
And I'm excited.
Fair enough.
I'm excited for it. It is something that I greatly look forward to. I think it's an honor to be able to be approved to actually sit down as a panelist, and I'm going to do the best that I can to actually enjoy myself and learn as much as I possibly can. But I'm very excited. I can't deny that. I am extremely excited to have that time to be able to do this because I enjoyed it at Jordan Con. I didn't know that 7 panels was a lot, but I didn't know how I didn't know how emotionally exhausting that would be. But I tell you, I ran the gauntlet and I had fun at Jordan Con as well, which thanks to everyone who was so nice and caring and wonderful at Jordan Con, all the staff, and I didn't have any problems. I thought I had a really good time, and I really hope to come back next year and have some more fun. But I can't wait to see a lot of you people at Multiverse as well because I know you'll be there, and we'll get to chop it up and have some fun there too.
That's awesome. When you're second chair and you're roaming around and you're the face that everybody needs to see and everybody is looking for, oftentimes you don't get the opportunities that some guests might get to attend certain panels or do certain things. Is there something that the new space might afford you that you're looking forward to maybe going and doing this year? Is there something you've set aside for? Because like every year I set aside to go to the crafting room and do crafting. I never get there. It never happens. Certain people have told me they drag me there and they don't. I have to do it on my own. I understand that, but I never get there. That's a goal of mine one day to do. Right. So do you have something like that in mind for you?
If I could split myself up, it would be each and every writer's track. each and every last panel that has to do anything with writing, because that's what I really want to learn. That I set Jesse and Allie have been so conscious of allowing me to actually be able to have some time off to go to some of the panels that involve craft, and I really appreciate that. But yes, anything that has to do with writing is where I usually want to kind of set time aside and go to.
Nice.
And attend, and this year I really, really want to go to gaming. I really, really want to do that. I really want to see my friends. I haven't been able to do that as much as I would like to, but I would love to go to gaming.
That's awesome. All right, so maybe we'll team up, and you can take me to crafting, and I can take you to gaming, and we can do
accountability buddies. Let's go. We'll hold each other accountable.
So let's talk about you a little bit and where you're at, because you're putting yourself out there a lot more, and your writing is becoming, you're evolving that aspect of who you are and what you're doing. Talk a little bit about what your experiences have been, what you've got going on, and where I know that you just have a new anthology coming out that I'm going to talk to your publisher about on Monday as well. Yeah. So tell a little bit about that as well, and tell everybody where you're at in terms of your writing right now.
I am still in the phase where this is the phase I'm going to be in forever for the rest of my life. It's just learning as much as I possibly can about craft, because I am absolutely obsessed with writing. Mm-hmm. With the anthology you were talking about, Space Funk, is with MV Media, is with Milton Davis, and I am in that particular anthology with a lot of my favorite writers. Joe Coleman, and just I can. There's a list that's insane and crazy and
really impressive,
really talented people, and And that was my first sale as an author. It kind of changed the game for me
Nice.
a little bit when it came to like kind of having a little bit more confidence in myself when it comes to writing. And I'm still speechless. I still can't believe that it's happening, like that it's actually happening. But it really is kind of like the stuff that dreams are made of. To be involved with something that's special, it's a fantastic project. All of the other Funk series, if you haven't read them, please go to MV Media website and check them out. And you're going to get all of this information as well when you come back here on Monday and talk to and listen to Kyoko M and Milton talk about everything that's happening. Which, by the way, I will be sharing the book with Kyoko, who's also a phenomenal writer, and Milton's a phenomenal writer. I mean, it's just I can't say enough about it. I have I published a short story with Manawaka Studios called Regalia, and the narrator was really good on it. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
And I'm just taking rejection letters and collecting them like Pokemon cards until I get that that foiled Charizard, and I can actually put it up and say, "Look, I got it. I finally did it. I collected them. I'm trying to collect them all, and I'm going after bigger names with my my writing. So I'm trying to improve. I want to do nothing but learn. If I could do that for the rest of my life, I would. It's something that it's not something I'm interested in. It's something that I am. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going along with the journey and seeing how it goes from here. There's really no road.
Do you feel like there's an interesting is there a way to learn? Do you feel like somebody can teach themselves to learn how to learn, or do you feel like that's something inherent inside of you that you have to have?
I have a phenomenal mentor in author Paige L. Christie. Honestly, she gave me some of the best advice that I could get, and I still use it. And she's on my shoulder when I'm writing, and it's for me to use all the words,
Nice.
every last one of them, and sorted the rest of it out later. And she's been helping me sort it out as well, and just teaching me craft, and I've gotten books. And in terms of like being self-taught, I don't even consider myself being self-taught. I'm in really wonderful groups. Vanessa, who's here, she runs a group called the Writers Troop, and it's phenomenal. I get so many resources. If you don't have to do it by yourself, don't do it by yourself. Find people who are willing to kind of sit in with you and kind of read with you and tell you where you need to improve, and tell you, where you think you're going, and take all of that with a grain of salt. But just know that, especially with the basic craft stuff, that you're learning, and it's gonna do nothing but help you grow. If you don't have to do it by yourself, don't. If you do, don't. As much as you can, craft books, YouTube. I use all of the resources I possibly can. Some people are not good with other people. I understand that. Some people are just, they're more comfortable with themselves,
Sure.
And I get that totally. But there are plenty of YouTube craft videos. Just like you can learn how to knit and change your oil on YouTube, you can learn craft on YouTube. You can, but I've been lucky, and I've been blessed to have a good mentor and people willing to read my work and just, shoot holes in it, stab it up, cut it up, and send it back to me with burned edges and tell me what I need to do to get it right. And I accept that. I accept all the critiques. I accept all the rejections. Be comfortable with rejections. That's another thing. Be very comfortable with them, and take them as learning and learning and learning and learning, and don't stop learning. And the day you figured that you know it all, you have stopped writing your best work.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with all that. Also, I think there is something to be said for putting yourself out there too, right?
Absolutely.
I think there's a little bit of uh, there is, and I get it that people are introverted or there's certain social phobias and things of that nature, but there's also something to be said for taking on that challenge and pushing forward. And you're somebody who does that tenfold. Do you? Is that something you had to teach yourself a little bit? Did you feel like you were you had to kind of just jump in? What did you feel like you were at with all of that? And then when did you feel? I don't know if you feel comfortable, but did you ever feel comfortable about where you were pushing yourself to?
So no, but okay. So yes and no. But the interesting thing about being a musician, especially in a metal band, is that if you're not hitting that note, and I'm a vocalist, if you're not hitting that note, everybody will tell you. And especially other musicians, because they respect you and they know you're better than that. They know you're better. You do better work than that, and so they'll tell you. They'll straight up tell you. And so doing music, I really believe that making music and writing lyrics and writing songs really improved didn't give me thicker skin, but it improved my view on how to accept things as they are. I know that I just had this conversation recently. I know that there are going to be things that I write that are just not good. They're not going to probably see the light of day. If they do, that's because I worked on it for a damn year. Being comfortable with putting myself out there, I had to get on stage a lot. I had to be in front of a lot of people, a lot. And I had to take criticism a lot, especially when I first started out. And so that journey is helping this one. Whenever you have to do something like that, that's why I understand why people who are in kind of high-end jobs, like a nurse, can turn around and become a chef. I can see how that happens and how they can do it easily if they have talent in something. And music and writing are kind of closely related and I had to write lyrics. So putting myself out there, I'm more comfortable doing that because of music, honestly. And when I'm having a bad day, I pop in my headphones and listen to music. Yeah, I mean, it's just all it's all encompassing.
Yeah. What would your advice be to somebody who's struggling with that then?
Take your time. Take your time. Do it at your own pace. Please don't be discouraged. Take every bit of criticism that you get and put it in a book and go back and re-review it as a craft lesson. And please just be patient. It'll come if you just keep working at it. I fully believe that I have a lot more work to do with everything in my life, including writing. And when I think I'm at the halfway up the hill, I know I'm still at the base of it. I know that hill is Everest. So, I'm comfortable with sitting down and taking my time and gathering food and foraging and learning craft.
Oh man,
Take your time.
But if you scale Everest, wow, that's something, right?
It is something. I've been just trying to find a way to do it easier.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the smart thing to do, right?
right. I don't want to be one of those people that have like a forever memorial on the peak or close to the peak. I don't want to do that. If it does, it is what it is. You just gotta kind of be there, be present in the moment.
Yeah, this is a great point. If it didn't take practice and we didn't make mistakes, we wouldn't call it learning. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Absolutely.
So let me, as somebody who introduces themselves a lot to the multiverse people, and you're present, you're there, and we have a lot of veterans who will be approached and talked to in this chat and everything, and people watching this who have been to a lot of cons. what would your reverse advice be for somebody who sees somebody who maybe is not comfortable yet, not ready to talk, or they want to come up to you, and how do you handle that aspect, having been on that side, and then also, being somebody who's visible?
So there are, we make it a little bit easier for you because there are usually buttons and or wristbands that will let you know right off the bat if someone wants to be approached, talked to. You got to kind of figure that out as you go. And if you have any questions, look for the green wristbands. Look for people like me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it, or about what's going on with it. Don't feel uncomfortable if you see someone who has a red or a yellow wristband on. Don't be uncomfortable. Just know that that person is communicating with you, just not in the way that you want to be communicated with.
Yeah.
Okay. And eventually that person might talk to you. They might not, but they've at least communicated with you in a very friendly way that they don't want to be approached, or they're not looking for hugs, or they don't want to be, because we all have our boundaries. And that's something that that you have to respect, is boundaries. So yeah, if you're a person who is more introvert or introverted, or kind of introvert extrovert, just depending, don't be afraid. I mean, we're multiverse. we're kind of for everybody. Unless you're a bad person, then you're gonna have to make a lot of changes. Yeah, or just don't come. But we're here for everybody, and so we're trying to. And I'm forever trying to learn and grow, and Joe's forever trying to learn and grow, and everyone who's on staff is trying to learn and grow. So if you have preferences, let us know, and don't be afraid to be yourself. And if yourself is an introvert, that's perfectly fine with us.
It's one of the cool moments at Multiverse, I think, that happens very often. It's at the closing ceremonies when somebody stands up and talks about how they were, not so much afraid, but just they never had experience where they could be open and be themselves and be free. And it happens every year. 2 or 3 people stand up and do that. It's pretty amazing, right? So it's one of those amazing things about Multiverse.
Yeah. And bring tissues when that happens, because you will ugly cry. I will cry. Everyone will cry, and bring enough tissues for everyone, because it is an amazing thing to see someone say that, hey, this place has changed my life, and it's helped me do this or do that or do the other, or confront something, or it's an escape. And it's a beautiful thing.
We're Multiverse. We don't bite unless you're into that sort of thing. You let me come back every year, so it's definitely welcoming. And JD says Multiverse is definitely the most welcoming convention I've ever been to. And Jay Pace says I've never gotten through the closings without crying. Yeah, it's pretty hard. There's nothing wrong with crying, everybody. There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh no, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with crying.
Well, Rob, this has been awesome to talk to you. I'm so glad I finally got you on Goni now. Let's not make this a one-time thing.
Oh no,
I would love to have you do so much more for us and be around. And you're such an inspiration and so wonderful to talk to. You're one of my favorite people on this planet, my friend. And so thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you tonight.
I was really happy to be able to come on tonight. Yeah, this is going to happen more. You're going to send me some schedule stuff so we can link up and do more of this. But you're one of my favorite people in the world too, Joe. Don't forget that. And I can't wait to see you.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see you. We get to sit down and chat some more.
Yes, absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, everybody go. We've got some really great stuff going on, and thank you, Rob. Thank you, Sean. And one more time, here's a little bit about the gaming track, and then we'll be back to wrap things up, everybody. Whether you've got an itch for old school arcade gaming, love your tabletop game, you want to join us to help make an RPG, or you just need some late night laughs and shenanigans from the Tingleverse. With your Multiverse Pass, you have a weekend-long opportunity to play. Whether you love card games, board games, dice games, arcade games, video games, doesn't matter. All of them are going to be available all weekend long. So the question then becomes, are you game? If so, come and join us this October in the gaming hall of the Multiverse Convention. Just another one of the perks you get when you join us. If the cool 80s music didn't inspire you, I don't know what will, for God's sake. Come, please. We want you to be a part of Multiverse. We want you to all experience what we experience and talk about every single time on this show. It is so amazing. And if you've never been, if you've never had the experience, you just need to do it. You just need to come. Roll the dice. Yes. Thank you. The 80s, I felt something. All right. All right. Well, I really appreciate, again, to my guests, Sean Hillman, SM Hillman, Rob Grimoire. I really love you all so much. And JD says, I want to wear leg warmers to the con. All right. And we'll be back on Monday. I've got Milton J. Davis. I've got Kyoko M. I mean, that's going to be a monster show as well. And I'm so excited for that and so excited for all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember that it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.